Hi, welcome to another video on MCP-based SaaS solution, ideal for an automation agency. Let's see what we are going to do first, and then we will take a look at the demo of the application. Then we will go over the code. So this is the MCP architecture that we have discussed in last couple of videos. So like discussed before, a non-agentic solution will reach the LLM directly with our prompt, and then the LLM responds back to the user. And for an agentic solution, what additional features that we get are we can attach tools. Tools will offer added value to the agent by offering precise calculations, web search, database search, etc., and local knowledge-based search. Welcome to Techie Talks AI. I'm Sri from Schogini. On this channel, we bring you hands-on demonstrations and insights into the latest tools and trends to help you get started with ease. Don't forget to subscribe and be a part of our journey into the future of technology. So that when we query the LLM, we also inform the tools that we have to the LLM. Then LLM will decide and tell us, call this tool or call this tool. And the tool gets called and the response goes back to the LLM, and then the LLM assembles the final response and gives it back to the user. That is how agentic systems work. Now comes the MCP. So what MCP does is, MCP standardizes the way we attach tools to an agent. So normally we attach tools directly to an agent. So the tool also resides on the same machine. But when it comes to MCP, we have two options. We can have locally residing tool, but we can also have remotely residing tool. So how that happens is, there is of course an MCP client which is directly attached to the agent, but the client has an option to connect to a local MCP server or a remote MCP server. Now, remote MCP server is the ideal thing for an automation agency, so that your intellectual property stays safe on your remote machine. You only expose your service to your clients. Now, what is this video about? This video, what we're going to do is, we are going to convert our remote SSE to an agent. But we saw a similar video earlier, but in this case, we are showing how we can have an agent that has your proprietary prompt. For instance, if it is a report generation agent that does deep research, your prompt is your know-how, your prompt is your intellectual property. So you can put your prompt safely here, and the replies go back to your client. So that is the beauty of it. So your intellectual property stays with you. Clear? And we will also make additional videos on how to manage the API keys so that your subscribed clients can only access your MCP server, etc. So let's see it's working now. So here we have the remote SaaS MCP solution which does research, and it is connected through SSE transport. So this is not a locally residing MCP server. All other videos that you see are all local MCP server, which is not really suitable for an automation agency. Okay, so here I'm entering a research topic, dog versus cat. Let's click on it. We will see how to run it, and we will also go over the code. Okay, so it has completed. The agent successfully processed the request via remote SSE agent, MCP server. And here we have dog versus cat, a comparative overview. Okay, so dogs, types, breeds. Okay, so this is just a fun demo of what you can offer to your clients if you have an automation agency. Okay, so this is a nice report. And we could have actually used a simple agent that sits with your client and prompted it. But only thing is, these days, so many powerful LLMs are coming out every day. Our developers' ability is shrinking down to developing applications and building sensible prompts. Okay. Okay, so this is the application that we are going to build today. Let's look at the code. This is completely containerized. So the code has the Docker Compose, and this Docker Compose has the SSE server here. This section is for the SSE MCP server. This is identical to all our previous MCP videos. Okay, so only thing here is the Python script that we are using is this. So just please notice this SSE server agentic research.py. Remember, all the code that I'm showing here is accessible for you. Clone and run it. Okay, so then we have simple SSE client here. This SSE client is used to test your MCP server. Okay, so this is the client and this is the Python script that runs. So this is just a few lines of code to test your MCP server. So you don't need to use a browser-based platform to test it. Then finally we have our web application. So this is the web application. This section is for the web application. This web application is using this dockerfile -st to build the application. So that is it. That is all there is in the Docker compose.yaml. Now let's look at the MCP server research agent. So let's come from the top. Remember, this does not use Agno based agents. It uses Pydantic based AI. This uses Pydantic AI based agent. Okay, so here we have the research implementation function. So whenever the MCP client contacts this MCP server and requests to run the MCP tool, research MCP tool, this function gets invoked. Okay, so this function, initially I have added some placeholder model selection for you to choose a model of your choice. So whether it is DeepSeek, Gemini, or OpenAI, you need to place the corresponding API key in the .env file. Sample.env file also is placed in the folder for your reference. After model selection, so here we create the server agent and provide the model that we have created above. And then this is where we run the agent. We run the agent with the prompt that the client sent. Okay, so this is from the client. And it generates the report. And then finally the response, this r.data has the response, which goes back to the client through the SSE streaming interface. Okay. Now this is the main function of the MCP server, and this is the decorator for the MCP tool call. And here, if the name of the tool is research, it will call the research implementation function that we just saw. That is it. It is similar to the previous video we saw, but this highlights the fact that you can make your MCP solution that you are offering to your clients richer and richer by focusing on detailed prompting and offer real value addition to your MCP server. But by the way, you can use these large language model to create the detailed prompting as well for you. Here we have the list available tools. We are offering just one tool, research tool. Okay, so that is the rest of the code is identical. Remember, there are two endpoints for this MCP server, which is based on SSE. One is /SSE endpoint, other is /messages endpoint. And if you don't know how this interaction happened, I have made a detailed video, visual video on showing you how SSE endpoint is used, how the data comes back through the SSE endpoint, and how this messages /endpoint is. You need to look for the video on MCP SSE data flow. Okay, so that is the MCP server. And regarding the client, it is identical to all our previous client. There are only few lines. Remember, the server, we are connecting to our SSE based MCP server that we just saw, adding our server object as MCP server here, and then agent run. I'm giving the topic AWS versus Azure. Okay, so how do we run this? Let's run this. Name of this service is SSE client. Okay, so Docker compose run SSE client. So here is the report of AWS, and so this report is in markdown format. So in order to properly see the report, you need to use a markdown viewer. I'm using a desktop application here. So this is the report. Just by providing the keywords, it has created a report. Okay, so you can make the prompting customized to make this report even better. So this is a quick demo of the command line client. Now the Streamlit application we just saw, that is this one. It is identical. It only has few lines pertaining to this client code. Rest of the lines are all Streamlit lines, which we have discussed in all our previous videos. So here we are creating the MCP server identical to the client. Pydantic AI's MCP server HTTP is the Pydantic AI's SSE transport based MCP client. And the topic is passed to this function. The input text that we enter is passed as the topic here. Okay, so that is it for this video. So please give your valuable comments and suggestions. Let's learn together, and remember to like, share and subscribe. Please stay tuned for our next video. We almost publish one video a day. Bye-bye.